Insurance fraud in the UK is reaching epidemic levels, and it's costing us billions of pounds every year. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injury claims, even fake deaths. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing. And every year, it's adding up to £50 to your insurance bill. Insurers are fighting back, armed with covert surveillance systems,
everything that we do has to remain cutting edge.
Sophisticated data analysis techniques,
Without having something like this, we would always be one step behind.
and a newly formed dedicated police unit.
Police, get back!
They're catching the criminals red-handed. All those con men, scammers, cheats on the fiddle, now they're caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Today, the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department busts into the house of a suspect.
You all right, we got a warrant.
One claimer discovers that no win, no fee doesn't apply to fraud.
Somewhat surprisingly and shockingly, found that no, she was not on that bus.
And a supposedly injured fraudster's story falls apart.
Most striking thing of the 12 days footage is there was no wheelchair.
Being a fraudster is a full-time job, as one would-be conman found to his cost when he failed to keep up his deception whilst under surveillance. In 2006, lorry driver Graham Loveday was the victim of a minor road traffic incident. The details were passed to the driver's insurer. On the face of it, this was a straightforward low-speed collision, as CEO David Slater reveals.
Mr. Loveday was driving along the road and he passed a petrol station, and as he passed the petrol station, our policyholder pulled out and hit the rear wheel. Mr. Loveday initially went for a medical report, and that report initially said that he'd got a whiplash injury with some bruising, and that the whole injury would resolve itself inside 5 to 8 months.
So far, so simple. Graham stood to gain the standard amount of compensation for whiplash, around £2,500. But 12 months after the accident, things seemed to take a dramatic turn for the worse.
Then subsequently went for a second medical report about a year later, and in fact at that medical report the doctor was unable to assess him because he said he was unable to get out of his wheelchair.
It was an astonishing development. Mr. Loveday's condition had deteriorated to the point where he claimed he often required a wheelchair, and even on good days had difficulty getting around.
And he subsequently claimed that he was pretty much wheelchair bound, and obviously had constant pain all the time, and was unable to do many of the basic tasks of everyday living and needed extensive care from his wife.
It wasn't just physical injuries. He also said he was suffering psychologically.
Mr. Loveday also claimed that he had a phobia of car travel. So he literally said that if he got into a car, that would immediately make him vomit.
With such extensive injuries, the claim for treatment and care was mounting.
Our legal advice was that in this case, the cost to us would have been approximately £1 million.
The insurer was becoming suspicious.
I think the first thing that rang alarm bells to us with this claim was when we received that second medical report. Certainly if someone has got an injury so severe that they're going to be wheelchair bound, normally that will be apparent very early on.
It just didn't add up.
We had these two medical reports showing completely different injuries, so clearly we wanted to get to the truth of whether the injury really was anywhere near as severe as he was now alleging.
The insurer went straight to a group of specialist undercover investigators, led by Tim Young.
Ultimately, our task is to gain an objective slice of their life. So it's simply a case of turning up and maximising the amount of footage that we can get so that others within the legal process can form a good, objective opinion of someone's capabilities.
Their mission was to covertly film Graham Loveday to see if he was as injured as he claimed.
The Graham Loveday case centred around the fact that we were dealing with an individual who was purportedly suffering from some form of physical disability, but not only that, there was psychological trauma as well. Around the area of his home address and around the kind of the overall area, he was presenting himself as a male who was actually quite disabled and walked in such a way as to suggest that he had a fairly significant disability.
What they saw at first seemed to fit with his statements, but then they got a tip-off that changed everything.
We've been informed that he was likely to be going on holiday, so we placed him under surveillance over a given period of time.
Claimant is now getting inside the driver's seat.
The man, who claimed to be sick when he was inside a car, was observed driving for several hours to his holiday destination.
He was found to travel from where he lived in South Wales all the way to the Isle of Wight.
Now with a left indication. Left indication.
It's a significant journey for someone who is purportedly nervous of driving and incapable, I guess, of sitting for long periods of time as well.
The surprises continued. Far from appearing tired or anxious after the lengthy journey, on arrival he seemed rejuvenated and was walking freely.
The contrast in his abilities and his overall demeanour was very significant. He was totally relaxed.
As he unwinds in what he thinks is the safety of a secluded campsite, he starts to demonstrate signs of his true physical ability.
I think that one of the most interesting pieces of footage that we gained was him lifting a generator.
He's now lifting something heavy out of warning.
And actually starting the petrol generator, so like a lawnmower, starting the engine in that way.
It seems to be pulling at something, i.e. a generator pull call to start.
On his return from holiday, he continues to perform a variety of strenuous physical activities.
There were a number of other specific examples. So, for example, he's seen servicing a car, which obviously involves a lot of bending over, which clearly you would not expect someone who's wheelchair-bound to be able to do.
The length of the surveillance meant they hadn't just caught him on a good day.
There was 12 days footage in total. We'd obviously been told that Mr. Loveday was wheelchair-bound. He needed a wheelchair if he travelled any distance at all. And the most striking thing of the 12 days footage is there was no wheelchair. It was very clear to us in this case that Mr. Loveday was grossly exaggerating the extent of his injuries. It was really rather difficult not to be absolutely certain that this was a fairly audacious attempt at a major fraud.
They had all the evidence they needed. The next step was to bring Graham Loveday to justice.
This case ended up in court. We felt it was really important to make it clear that Saga Insurance is not going to tolerate frauds of this type. Judge found Mr. Loveday guilty. Mr. Loveday was sentenced to 9 months in prison. Yeah, I think Mr. Loveday's motivation was undoubtedly agreed to try and get some more money. We certainly foiled him in this case, yes.
A pair of claimers are shamed on camera.
Our expert didn't accept that there was any possibility whatsoever that they'd been injured.
In the fight against the growing problem of insurance fraud, an elite squad have come together to form IFED, the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department.
Insurance fraud isn't a victimless crime. £50 of each premium you pay each year goes to the fraudsters. We have been set up to tackle that problem.
This dedicated team works tirelessly to bang up the crooks and con men getting rich off other people's money.
Please get back!
It is our intention to create a climate of fear for the fraudster. There's every chance that an IFED detective may come knocking on their door to arrest them for committing an insurance fraud.
Police, don't move, stay where you are!
By April 2012, after only 6 months of operating, they had already busted 80 fraudsters, adding up to £12 million of fraud under investigation.
These people are criminals. These are nasty people. They don't go out to work on a Monday morning like most people do. Their work is submitting insurance fraud claims.
Today, the IFED team, led by DS Mark Forster, has come to raid the home of a suspect wanted for questioning about car insurance fraud.
But this particular individual accepted numerous motor insurance policies. We think somewhere in the region, just this one company, somewhere in the region of 60 or 70 motor insurance policies. The insurer puts the loss at somewhere in the region of £50,000.
The large number of motor insurance policies belonging to the suspect has led IFED to believe this indicates fraudulent activity. They want to arrest the suspect and question him in detail about what's going on.
Got the warrant then?
They're not expecting the inhabitants of the house to be cooperative and are ready to break their way in if needed.
Open up, please! Put the door in 3 seconds! Police, get back! Police! Get back! Stay where you are!
You're right, we got a warrant. Do you want to get yourself up, darling?
Get back, lady.
You're decent at the moment under there?
The first person they find is the mother of the suspect.
She's laying in bed, she's just getting up now, and we're obviously speaking to her to try and find out where her son is. We'll crack on with a search now. We've got a warrant to execute a search at this premises, OK, and that's been authorised by the City London Magistrates Court. It's in relation to fraud-related offences concerning your son.
Well, he lives at... I kicked him out, actually.
Do you know the address where he's staying at the moment?
No, I don't.
Do you have a contact number for him? That'll be a good start for Ted.
While Mark questions the suspect's mother in the lounge, the team starts searching the rest of the house. The hunt is on for documentary evidence linking the suspect to the fraud, so the case stands up in court. Unconvinced that the suspect has actually moved out, they focus on an upstairs room that might be his bedroom. But the first thing they find could be proof of an altogether different sort of crime: illegal drugs.
So there's cannabis in which bedroom?
There's 2 bags there. These are all empty bags with bits and remnants in.
There's an amount of cannabis upstairs in that bedroom, and there's a small amount down here as well. So obviously we're going to be seizing that and speaking to the mother more about who's around ownership, possession of that.
The search continues. The next thing they discover is a hidden safe concealed behind a fireplace.
Did you last access this safe? Whose safe is it?
The key's been left in the door, so it's a simple job to open it up. Could this be where the evidence they need is stashed?
I'm arresting you on suspicion of possessing a controlled drug, cannabis.
Some chancers take advantage of genuine collisions to cheat their way to money they don't deserve. But insurers and transport companies are fighting back, using every high-tech tool at their disposal. CCTV is one of them. From time to time, buses are involved in minor incidents. Huyton bus station was the scene of one such incident. Valda Grant handled the case.
It was a number 15 bus travelling into Huyton bus station in the northwest. The bus was going slowly into the bus station, and there were some railings on his left-hand side, and he caught the railings with the bus as he was pulling into the bus station.
Not long after, the bus company heard from 2 of the passengers who'd been on board at the time.
These were 2 17-year-old passengers on the bus, and they both claimed they'd got whiplash injury. 2 with whiplash injury. One said she'd a shoulder injury because she banged her shoulder against the window.
This was an unexpected outcome, which didn't tally with the slow speed of the impact. The bus company wasted no time in checking the onboard CCTV to see if the footage supported the claims. The women can clearly be seen on the bus, but at no point do they seem to sustain any injury from a collision. In fact, the incident is so low impact, the passengers aren't even seen moving. When the women leave the bus, they even appear to be smiling.
When we got our own medical expert, we sent him the CCTV, plus the claimant's witness statements where they explain what happened in the accident and how they were injured. Our expert didn't accept that there was any possibility whatsoever that they'd been injured.
The civil claim proceeded to court, and the bus company used the footage to make their case. Luckily, justice prevailed.
The court dismissed the claim, and the claimants didn't receive any damages.
Without CCTV cameras, it could have been a very different result, and the two women might have got away with their false claim.
It is a sad state of affairs that you need the CCTV, but it would be sadder if we didn't have them, because we would not be able to fight these claims.
When it comes to trying their luck with bus companies, some claimers are even more shameless than the previous pair. At least they were on the bus in question. The next story concerns a would-be fraudster who attempted to claim for injuries that she couldn't possibly have suffered. Jonathan Crooks, the manager of Transcare Law, works for the bus company involved and investigated the case.
Anissa Nasser was in Queen Street bus station in Liverpool.
It's a busy station, and one of the buses was hit at low speed by another bus. Not long afterwards, the company was contacted by Anissa Nasser.
When she presented a claim for personal injury on the basis that she had been an occupant of the bus when it was hit. She claimed that she was jolted and that she suffered whiplash-type injuries to her neck.
The case was passed on to one of the bus company's own claims handlers.
Our claims handler will have checked the CCTV footage from the inside of the bus to make sure that Anissa Nasser was indeed on the bus when it was hit.
What they saw blew her claim out of the water.
Somewhat surprisingly and shockingly, found that no, she was not on that bus. In fact, the camera showed her standing in the bus station watching what was happening.
Watching what was happening and clearly coming up with a scheme to scam money from the bus company. The pictures show her stood outside the bus, watching the impact, and then getting on the bus that was hit after the collision had happened. The CCTV pictures were more than enough evidence for the bus company to reject her claim, but they didn't stop there.
Also, what she didn't realise was that she wasn't in a no-lose situation, because once we'd rejected her claim for compensation, we were determined not to let matters lie there, and that we would try and, as a deterrence for other people, take her to court.
It was impossible to argue with the evidence from the CCTV camera, and Anissa Nasser was found guilty.
The sentence for Miss Nasser was a 4-month suspended prison sentence, 180 hours community service, and she had to pay the prosecution legal costs as well.
But perhaps she's paid an even greater cost than the sentence itself.
She's got a criminal record now. A lot of doors are now shut to her in terms of future employment, applications for mortgages, etc., etc. People just seem to think that they can take an opportunistic pop at people like us, and they live to regret it.
Technology is a key weapon in the fight against insurance fraud. Our next would-be swindler was caught out when she failed to cover her tracks and left an electronic footprint leading to her downfall. In 2011, Jodie Jackman was one of the drivers in a serious car accident. It involved 2 motors and a total of 7 people, including the other driver, Katie Ashcroft. Jodie reported the accident to her insurer and accepted liability. Claire Laver is a lawyer who worked on the case for the insurer.
7 claims for personal injury and other vehicle-related losses were made. The third-party driver received a sum of money for the damage to her vehicle, as did the policyholder, and in total that was around about £11,000.
This payout covered the damage to both cars and the personal injury claims for all 7 people involved. That appeared to be that, until, due to an unrelated matter, Jodie was suspended from her admin job. A routine trawl through her work email account by her employers revealed a surprising email exchange.
Where they had suggested getting involved in fabricating an accident and making a fraudulent claim.
Swiftcover's Chief Claims Officer, Robin Reams, was passed the full details of the incriminating exchange. One email from Katie to Jodie reads,
"All we got to do is carry out instructions when given. You've got 3 in your car. Looks better if we both get handled by different people."
Jodie replies,
"I'm scared, me."
Katie reassures her.
"I'm scared too. Both the guys have done it before, so it's sweet."
It was very clear from the emails that this was a deliberate attempt to defraud an insurer by creating an accident that didn't take place and for 7 people to make personal injury claims that they didn't suffer.
Further digging revealed the motive behind the fraudulent claim was financial.
The 2 girls were undergoing some financial strain at the time. One of them had a loan with a loan shark, another one had some £5,000 worth of debt.
They were desperately in need of the £11,000 payout from the insurer. It turned out they had maximised their money by persuading 5 other people to pretend they were passengers and put in fake injury claims. All 7 were taken to court.
The result of the court case was that 7 pleaded guilty to conspiracy to defraud, and of those, 3 received a 12-week custodial sentence, suspended for 1 year, and the other 4 received a 6-month community order. This seemed to be an opportunity for them to make some quick cash. The result is it didn't work out that way. They got caught. They lost their jobs, they have a criminal record, and it sends a very clear message to fraudsters out there that we will find them and we will do all we can to protect innocent, law-abiding policyholders.
But the story didn't end there. The insurance company decided to pursue the women for the money they'd cheated out of them.
They will have to pay back the £11,000 that was paid to them by Swift Cover in the end anyway. So it was a completely pointless exercise which has left them much worse off than they'd intended.
The Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, IFED, has come to arrest a suspect they believe is involved in car insurance fraud. He's nowhere to be seen, but they've chanced upon a hidden safe, which they're hoping will contain some of the evidence they need to make the case stand up.
Do you last access this safe?
As they go through the contents, they find an array of checkbooks and documents, which they bag up for further investigation.
It's a security measure to make sure that, should they be subject to the burglary, that nobody gets all their banking details, all their checkbooks, credit cards, passports, etc. Quite ironic, really.
But there's still no sign of the suspect. IFED persuaded the mother to hand over a contact number for her son, but they've had no luck with that either.
Just going straight through to voicemail. We've left him a number of voicemails, asking him basically to get in touch with us, to basically get himself here.
Their persistence pays off, and he eventually rings back.
Where are you? Sheffield. What are you doing up there? What vehicle are you driving? How are you going to get in?
IFED has done their homework on the suspect. When they eventually make contact, they deliberately reveal some of the information they have, so he knows they're onto him.
I know which vehicles you've got access to. I just want to know which vehicle you're going to come in.
Meanwhile, the family guard dog seems to be having an off day.
Full focus, brilliant. So you're going to be here in an hour? Don't muck me about. I'm trusting you now to turn up here within the hour. Lovely. See you then.
Usually we find that that's enough to draw him back to home, as it were, especially when his mum's here on her own.
Although the suspect has promised to return home, there's still no sign of him after 45 minutes. The IFED team is starting to lose patience. Suddenly, another call comes in, but it's not from the suspect. It's from a man who says he's his lawyer.
I'm going to put the phone down in a minute, sir, right?
The lawyer explains that the suspect won't be coming to the house as promised. The IFED team thinks they smell a rat.
If he's a professional solicitor, he's just laughing down the phone to me. Anyway, that's a nice distraction for us. Where were we?
Their search is turning up an ever-increasing quantity of drugs.
While we're sitting here, there's a waft of, quite a strong waft of cannabis coming from just behind where my colleague sat there, and so that's like the third and fourth sort of small quantity of cannabis we found in the house now, in sort of 3 or 4 different rooms.
With drugs uncovered in several locations around the property, it's important that IFED investigates the illegal substances thoroughly. The mother is the only person in the house, and Mark takes the decision to arrest her in connection with the drugs.
She's the only one on the premises and there's drugs all over it, so she can come in.
I'm arresting you on suspicion of possessing a controlled drug, cannabis, and on suspicion
What, tiny
of
amount?
conspiring to defraud. The cannabis
my
that's been
God.
found in this house. So.
What? Right, a joint.
What? There's been cannabis found in this
Yeah,
house.
a joint.
Up
Yeah.
here. Yeah, it's an offence.
Just then, the suspect calls again.
Hello, is that you? I've had a few phone calls from Mohammed. He tells me that you want to turn up at the police station, not come here. And the time, but you've got 15 minutes to get here, so you've run out of time.
You're arresting me.
Why am I arresting her? For cannabis possession and conspiracy to defraud. Your timing couldn't have been more impeccable. She's just been arrested and she's going to the police station. Are you coming to the home or to the police station?
There's scales, there's grinders used for grinding down cannabis resin and bits and pieces like that. Scales for weighing the drugs out.
Suddenly, there's a commotion at the door as someone tries to enter.
Oh, mate, hang on. Who's that? Come on, fella.
It's her son, but unfortunately not the son IFED is after.
Yeah, well, just leave it, man. What can I do? I've just woke up, man. Get that out of my face.
Although they didn't get their hands on the suspect, IFED has found significant amounts of potential evidence to help with their case. It's been a successful raid. Mark is confident they'll eventually get their man.
He is a very well-known person and he will come sooner or later to our attention or to the police's attention. He'll get arrested sooner rather than later if he fails to give himself up today. So we will catch up with him eventually. Would have been nice to have got him today, but like I say, we've secured all the evidence from the house, so we're not going to lose anything in relation to our investigation.
The police eventually arrested the suspect and questioned him about the alleged fraud. He and his mother are currently on bail and the investigation is ongoing. In the short amount of time that IFED has been in existence, the team has had a huge impact, investigating over 300 suspected insurance scams and taking the fight to the fraudsters.